In this video, I'm going to be answering a question that comes up quite often from both believers and non-believers, and that is, will Jesus raise the cremated? Or another way of wording this is, what happens to those who were cremated at the resurrection of the second coming of Jesus Christ? I'll start off by saying that God has not given us any specific direction, revelation, or direct command as to what happens to Christians who are cremated. There is nothing in the Bible to point to specifically to answer this question. There are some verses we can point to for guidance, however, and this is also a topic I've discussed at great length within the Christian community before. A verse I want to share off the top with you is Genesis 3:19, which reads, "You return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. For you are dust, and to dust you shall return." Now this verse is telling us that our physical bodies came from dust and shall return to dust after death. Whether that's through cremation or just general decomposition over time, it's a clear message that it's not the preservation of our physical bodies after death that matters. After all, there are various things that can happen to bodies after death that are out of our control. Another way I've heard this question answered before is simply that when Jesus comes from heaven and metamorphosizes millions of bodies and works the miracle of resurrection, it's hard to believe he doesn't have the power to resurrect cremated bodies. So, what happens after someone dies according to the Bible? Well, cremation was practiced in biblical times, but it was not commonly practiced by the Israelites or the New Testament believers. In the culture of biblical times, burial was by far the most common way of resting a body after death. Bodies were often laid to rest in tombs, as Jesus was buried himself, or in caves, and in the ground. While burial was the most common practice, nowhere in the Bible does it command burial as the only method of disposing a body. And that's the important takeaway here. Do Christians believe in cremation? I can't speak on behalf of everyone, obviously, but despite the Bible not giving a command on whether or not we should cremate the dead, I know that some Christians do object to cremation. They say that God will not be able to resurrect the body of someone who has been cremated and reunite them with their souls and spirit. To substantiate this, I see some Christians pointing to 1 Corinthians 15:35-55 to make this point, which reads, "It is the same way with the resurrection of the dead. Our earthly bodies are planted in the ground when we die, but they will be raised to live forever. Our bodies are buried in brokenness, but they will be raised in glory. They are buried in weakness, but they will be raised in strength. They are buried as natural human bodies, but they will be raised as spiritual bodies. For just as there are natural bodies, there are also spiritual bodies." However, as I already touched on, whether a body has been cremated or not, it's no more difficult for God to resurrect that body and reunite it with its soul. What about all the Christians who died and were buried thousands of years ago that will be no more than dust at this point? So how is that any different than being cremated? I'll end by saying that the question of cremation or burial is within the realm of Christian freedom. It's a choice a person should make with the blessing of their loved ones. I hope you enjoyed this video and found the answers you were looking for. If you did, please take the time to press the like button and subscribe to the channel, as this helps to spread the word of God further. God bless and have a great day.